Hello, everybody. My name is Max, and welcome to the second part of the listening. And in this video, we're going to take a look at part two. We're going to see how we should do part two. What are the questions in this part? How to answer these questions? What are the tricks, tips, and traps for this part? And we're going to learn how to answer all the questions perfectly in part two. So let's get started. All right, in part two, what we are going to have is, first of all, you're going to listen to one audio file, which is around 3 to 4 minutes. And it's going to be some sentences in this part, which you have to just fill the gap in each sentence. And your job is to listen and write those words that are missing. Now, the thing is that in this part, they test your understanding of detail, stated opinion, and specific information. So it's not general things. You don't need to listen for the general idea. Of course, you need to understand what you're talking, but general idea is not going to get you the answer. You just have to listen for a specific word that you need, and you write that specific word in each gap. And remember, you have to listen for particular words, phrases, or numbers to complete 10 sentences. You should write these down exactly as you hear them. So it means the opposite of part one, which we talked about it a lot of time, that if you hear the same word, you should not write it. This part is completely the opposite. You should write whatever you hear. If they said, for example, abundant, you write the word abundant. You don't change that. You write exactly that word without changing even one letter. Now, the question is, how many words can I write in this part? So mostly in this part, you're going to write 1 or 2 words, but you can also write 3 words maximum. If you're writing 4 words, be very careful. Something is wrong. That's not the answer. So you're not going to need more than 3 words in this part. Most of the answers consist of 1 or 2 words, and sometimes you might have 3 words as well. It's not always, but you can have 3 words answer as well. So don't be surprised if one of the answers, you should write 3 words. When we say 3 words, all the contractions refers to 2 words, okay? So if you write don't, it means you just used 2 words right now. If you use won't, it means you just use 2 words right now. So you have to be very careful. You just have 1 word left. And if you want to write more, something is wrong. That's not the answer. This part also, they check your spelling. So you have to be very careful to spell the words correctly. If your spelling is wrong, you're going to miss the whole point of that. So be very careful to spell them correctly. Check your spelling a couple of times in order to write them correctly. Because one simple mistake, like forgetting the plural S, instead of writing a students, you write a student, and you're going to lose 1 mark. Now, again, in this part, all the questions follow the order. As we mentioned, there's going to be 10 questions or 10, let's say, sentences, which you need to fill them, and all of them follow the order of the information in the recording. So you don't need to jump from question 7 to 10, okay? Or from question 10 to, I don't know, 12. You don't need to do that. You just follow whatever the audio file, as audio file goes and reaches to the end of it, and you have to also move on to the next sentence. For each one, you will hear a cue that indicates the answer is coming. The cue is very easy to identify. They will say something that is related to the sentence before or after the gap, and you realize, all right, that is the answer. All right, now, what else we have to take care in this part? You got to be very careful with the words, phrases, or numbers you hear, which may seem to fit the gaps, but are not correct. Again, just like part 1, if you need, for example, a word like a city, you need a name of a city, you are going to hear 3 or 2 different names of a city, which 2 of them or 3 of them are wrong, and only 1 is correct. And that is one of the common traps of this part. If you need a date, if you need a time, if you need a number, you will hear different numbers, different months, different words, and they indicate that they are just there to distract you. So be very careful of this trap. It's very common, and most students fall into this trap because they are looking for a word and they feel like, okay, I've just heard a number and I know that's the answer and I have to write that. And that is the worst thing you can do. And as I mentioned, you may need to write 3 words, but often you need to write 1 or 2 words. Only write 1 answer, even if you think of 2 or more good ones. Only write 1. There's always plenty of time between each answer for you to write down the missing word. So don't worry if you're writing the word that is missing. You don't feel like, oh, I'm going to miss the next question. No, you're not going to do that, because the audio file has plenty of time, at least 10 to 20 seconds, even more, until you reach to the next sentence. So you have very good time to write that. Don't worry, just once you heard, write the answer, and also listen at the same time while you're writing, because you don't want to just miss out any information in that audio file. And one thing you can also do is you can underline the keywords in each question, listen for the words and phrases that expresses the same idea. Again, here, the sentence that is before the gap, you're not going to hear the same sentence. That is another kind of mistake that I've seen some of the students make. They think that, all right, I have to hear exactly what the previous sentence says, and I'm going to listen exactly the same words. No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to hear the same words as the previous sentence. Like here that we mentioned, it says, as well as his research project, Josh planned to write blah, 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 blah. You're not going to hear the same words as this. He's going to rephrase this sentence in another way, but he's going to say exactly what this part means, and then he's going to say something. Now, one of the most important things about part 2, in order to find the answers, is this. You need to predict the answer. Without prediction, forget about this part. This part is not possible. If you predict, it's the easiest part in the world. If you predict the answer, it's not going to be difficult. I'm sure you can answer 10 out of 10 because it's very easy after you predict. You know exactly what they're going to say. You know exactly what you're going to hear, and you're not going to get distracted by all other information in the audio file. You're just going to know, all right, he's going to right now talk about a date, and that is why I have to listen. Here it says, as well as his research project, Josh planned to write a blah, 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 blah for a website while he was in Africa. So you know that he planned to write a. So it should be a type of writing. What can you write? You can write, for example, a report. You can write an article. You can write, I don't know, essay, something like this, right? A type of writing. Now, so I know that I have to listen for a type of writing. Something that he can write. For what? For a website in Africa. While he was in Africa, sorry. Now, the second thing, you have to really be very careful when you're writing the answer. Okay, for example, I heard a word essay. Now, if I write essay here, do you think the answer is correct? Well, it's wrong. The reason behind this is because we have the word e, and we cannot use e with e, which is a vowel. We can say an essay, but not a essay. So that is wrong. In that case, you have to also check for grammar this part, whether the grammar is telling you the answer is correct. So you might choose an answer that is wrong is because of the grammar. Now, can the answer be ever essay? Yes, it can be, unless you have an adjective before essay. For example, you have a good essay, good article. Yeah, it's possible in that case. But again, be very careful of grammar after you just finish writing. Check the grammar as well to see whether you're writing correctly or not. If the grammar says your answer is wrong, this is the first time you're listening to, you have to do that. The second time you check and you fix the problem. Don't do this the second time because you don't have any other chance to listen to. So if you can't get it, definitely you will lose the point. Do it the first time, listen to it the first time, write the answer the first time, check the first time, and confirm it the second time. All right. What else we have to do? Write clearly so that you can read your answers later and copy them correctly onto the answer sheets. Because if you're doing the paper-based exam, we said that you have to answer in the question paper, and after part 4 finished, you have 5 minutes to copy your answers there. So if you're writing here with a bad handwriting and you don't understand what you're writing, you might miss so many words, you might miss a spell, you might forget the S, plural S or something like this, and you're going to lose the point easily just like that, even though you knew the answer and you had it, but you're going to just write it wrong. So be very careful when you're writing, write it correctly, check the spelling, and then when you're just copying, again, be very careful how to copy your answer into the answer sheet. Always, as I mentioned, check that grammatically your answer is correct, whether it's singular, plural, verb tenses, whatever it is, it works, and your answer should fit the gap. All right, now let's try to take a look at an example together. Here it says we're going to study exam question from an extract, and you're going to see why is a child correct in this question. And would any other answer be possible here? What mistakes might a candidate listening to this make? So it says rabbits are not suitable pets for a child as they need a lot of care. Now the sentence here says rabbits are clean, intelligent, and friendly animals, and they make excellent pets. They do, though, require a considerable amount of attention in order to keep them healthy, comfortable, and safe. So it is better if an adult or a teenager rather than a child looks after them. As they're such as sociable animals, preferring to live in pairs or groups, it is advisable to have at least 2. Now, why the answer is a child? First of all, we have to take a look at the clue or somehow the cue to tell us, oh, the answer is near. Now, what is this cue? It says they do require a considerable amount of attention. This is exactly the same as this sentence. They need a lot of care. So they need a lot of care is the same as they require considerable amounts of attention. So you heard a word or a phrase that is related to something before or after the gap, okay? Now you know, all right, we're very close to the answer. Now, when you're close to the answer, you have to listen for the next information that he's telling. He says it is better if an adult or a teenager rather than a child looks after them. So the question is also telling us that rabbits are not suitable pets. Not suitable pets. If the question was opposite, rabbits are suitable pets, definitely the question would be different. The answer would be different. But here it says not suitable, and the sentence says also it is better if an adult or a teenager rather than a child looks after them. You understand that the answer is 100% a child. And the answers that you might make, or some kind of a mistakes that you might make, is that you write adult or you write a teenager in the answer, and they're wrong. Why? Because the autofill says it's better for them to take care of them. So the kids are a terrible idea to give them the rabbits. So the kids should be the answer. Remember, you cannot write any synonym. You cannot write a kid. That is wrong. As I mentioned, whatever you hear, you write down that word. A child, you write a child. You cannot write a kid. You cannot write a baby. These are all wrong answers. You just have to write exactly what you heard. And you've heard here a child, so you write a child. That's it. Now, let's take a look at another example together. So here, we're going to take a look at another question. What you're going to do is you're going to listen to this extra 2 times, and you have to answer. It says, inside the house, you should remove any blah, 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 blah to keep the rabbits safe. So our answer is referring to removing something. And also, if we remove that, it's going to keep the rabbits safe. So it means something is dangerous. We have to look for something dangerous here. That's my prediction. I have to look for something dangerous to the rabbits. Okay, it might not be dangerous to me, but it might be dangerous to the rabbits. Okay, let's listen.
Most rabbits are equally happy living outdoors or indoors, but if you decide to keep them in the house with you, there are some safety measures you should take. Firstly, make sure that all electric cables are properly protected, or else your pets might bite through them with disastrous results. Also, never leave houseplants lying around, as these might be poisonous.
One more time.
Most rabbits are equally happy living outdoors or indoors, but if you decide to keep them in the house with you, there are some safety measures you should take. Firstly, make sure that all electric cables are properly protected, or else your pets might bite through them with disastrous results. Also, never leave houseplants lying around, as these might be poisonous.
Very good. So you could see that there were some kind of trap here in this part, and you might fall into the trap. You have to be very careful, which we're going to take a look at it right now. We're going to see what were the traps and what was the correct answer. So the correct answer is houseplants. You can write it any of these three ways, and your answer would be correct. You can write it like this, this, or this, and your answer would be also correct. Now, why the answer is house plants and why not is not electric cables? The reason because is that he said, first of all, he says something about being protected. He says, make sure, let's find the part that they talked about that. This says there are some safety measures you should find. Firstly, make sure that all electric cables are probably protected. So protected, it doesn't mean you have to remove them. You have to just protect them. It means you have to put them in the cover, but it doesn't mean you have to remove them. So that is a trap. Be very careful. He didn't say you should remove them. He says you should protect and cover them. And after that, he says also never leave houseplants lying around. Now, this is the meaning of removing. It means you should never leave them on the ground. You should remove them. If you see that, remove them. Just try to put them somewhere else, as they might be poisonous. Now, the cue here also, if you can see the cue here, it says, let's find the cue. It's here. But if you decide to keep them in the house with you, you have to do something. Now, this is the same as keeping the rabbits safe, right? To keep them. If you decide to keep them in the house with you, there are some safety measures you should take. So these safety measures and keep them is the same as this sentence. So you understand that the answer is very close. So I'm going to hear the answer right now. And then you've heard the first one was a trap. The second was the answer. Sometimes the first one is the answer. The second one is a trap. So don't be like, okay, always the trap comes first. No, the trap can come second. And the first one is the answer. Because in that way, they confuse you somehow. So it's not always following the same order. It's not like that. But it can be like that as well. Now, one more time, remember, the first thing you do is reading all the questions first. This is how you should start. You read all the questions in the time that you have in the instruction that they are giving instructions. You just read the questions and you have to just try to predict the answers. The more you predict, the better the score you are going to get in this part. Don't forget that prediction is all about this part, and it's none of the other parts you can predict just like this. And most of the predictions will come true because if you understand the sentence and predict correctly, you know what exactly you have to hear in the audio file. I know basically before I even listen to the audio file, I know what I'm going to hear. And in that case, you can find the answer really fast. All right, now in the next video, we're going to take a look at a full test. We're going to take a look at all 10 questions at the same time. Before we take the test, we're going to predict all the answers. We're going to see how we can answer the questions correctly. And then we're going to listen to the audio file and we're going to analyze the answers and see why the answers are like that or like this. And we're going to improve your skills in this part as well. There's going to be, again, just like part one, there's going to be 3 more videos which we break down 3 full tests and where you're going to learn everything about it. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.